Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, TREW Marketing. TREW is a full-service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit trewmarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Jennifer Dawkins. She is the newly minted president of TREW Marketing. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And of course, you've been with TREW for many years now, and we're formally the Vice President of Account Services. So not new to the leadership team, but taking on a new role. And I'm so excited about this and happy that you're continuing on in a even bigger capacity.
Me too.
Well, those of you who are unfamiliar with Jen may not know that she is also our marketing strategy guru. She leads our strategy services for TREW related to marketing and campaign planning and go-to-market. And we wanted to talk today about measurement because we just have July in the review mirror, and along with it, we've been doing our quarterly marketing reviews. So this is a very timely topic. And Jen, before we dive into the mechanics of it, why is it important to take time out to even do this in the first place?
Yeah, great question. So the quarterly marketing reviews are actually my very favorite part because you kind of get out of the day-to-day, you gather the marketing team and leadership, and you just have an opportunity to really look at what's working, what's not, revisit your plan that you spent time building. And I just feel like that's really important. It's really motivating, and it gets everyone aligned and on the same page, not only looking back, but then looking forward for the next quarter as well.
And when you compare quarterly to, say, health metrics, things you're looking at on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, what are you looking for that's different?
Sure. So yeah, we might have a scorecard that we fill in every week or every month or something just to kind of check how are things going. But the quarterly review is really an opportunity to sit down, one, with a bigger audience, two, kind of look at each other face to face and over Zoom or in person and talk through not just the core metrics, but really take a deep dive into reminding everyone, this is what we set out to do, looking at the goals, looking at the high level health metrics, but then also going a little bit deeper into some of the major initiatives, some of the things we tried out, and just sharing what worked and what didn't.
Okay. So you've described a lot of the pieces of this, but let's put it all together. Could you explain what the full process looks like?
Sure, absolutely. So I always start the meetings with reading out the marketing goals that we set out and agreed to together, just to remind everyone of what are we trying to do? What did we agree to in the beginning? And then what initiatives did we put in place for that quarter before to get to that? So we don't talk through all the activity or everything we did, but we do talk through some of the major initiatives that we did just to remind everyone, this is what we worked on, and this is kind of how we were getting to these goals. Then we dig into the data and the metrics, and that's the bulk of the meeting. And we talk through high-level health metrics. That's the marketing scorecard that we set up in the beginning. That's part of the marketing plan. And then we will go deep into any anomalies, anything that's high or low on that scorecard, and then some of the very specific campaign initiative metrics, just so we know, did they do well? Did they not do well? What lessons did we learn? And this certainly isn't intended to be just sharing successes. It's really intended to show what's working, what's not working, and that informs everything moving forward.
Right, because using this data to take action, make adjustments to your plan, whether divesting, investing, whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you give me some examples of you mentioned initiatives? What does that look like? What types of metrics are we talking about here?
Sure. So we'll have our health metrics, and those are obviously just things like what's the conversion, new contacts, how are the leads coming in, and how we're converting those. But the initiatives are something like if we tried something new, if we did a paid lead campaign, we'll go in and look at how did that go? Did it get the results we were expecting? Did it go smoothly? And things like that. Or it could be something around PR. If we did a PR initiative that might be something that is new or different, or even if it's not different, if it's something that's really significant toward achieving those goals. We want to look at, did it work? Did it not work? As part of that discussion, in addition to the numbers, we also have typically a few discussion points that we talk through. So while we have all these people in the room, we have the marketing team and the leaders in the room at the same time, it's good to discuss something around, could be one of the initiatives, could be something that didn't go well over the last quarter that caused friction that is impacting our marketing efforts, and we can talk through that. It could be a new opportunity that's coming up of that this came up, it wasn't in the plan, and it could be something that's worth doing as well. So we definitely use that opportunity to not only talk through and go deep on these metrics, but also use that as a platform to kind of hit some of the high level discussion points there.
Yeah, and to that end, I know that it's tempting because we can measure a ton of what we do, not everything, but a ton. It's so tempting to show every metric. So,
Yep.
email open rates and click-throughs and deliverability, for example. And that's just one media area, and there's so
Yep.
many. And so why is it important to elevate or pick and choose which metrics to share? Because I know as an executive, I don't want to hear every bit of
Absolutely.
everything that marketing is doing.
Yep, absolutely. So as marketers, and I love data, I love numbers, I'm very analytical. We track all kinds of things, and you absolutely should. As a marketer, you should track any and everything that's going to inform what you're doing and help you make decisions. But when you're reporting that out, you absolutely need to think of the audience. So if you're talking to leadership, you need to focus on the metrics that are impacting the business, the metrics that we need to make decisions, or the metrics that are just interesting, something really high, something really low, something new, or it could be something focused on tied to a goal. So something right now, a lot of our clients are very focused on growing their digital footprint and getting AI visibility. So those metrics are something that group is going to be really interested in. So to make these quarterly reviews meaningful, not only to the business leaders, but also to the marketing team, I really think through which metrics are we presenting and make it really collaborative. Make it something to where the people that are sitting in the room, I know it's something that they care about, they're interested in, or they have an opinion on. And it's definitely not a me talking to them. It's something that is a discussion. It is very back and forth. And it is really important that the people in the room are there, that they can see the screen, they're not driving somewhere, they're not taking the call from somewhere else or like multitasking. So by keeping it really focused on what they care about, that helps those go a little bit better.
About how long do these sessions last?
So I like to schedule 2 hours, but then I plan to go an hour and a half. So an hour and a half is kind of the longest. A lot of people can really keep that attention, but also making sure that you kind of have it planned for an hour and a half gives 30 minutes in case there is a really great discussion happening, in case someone has something that they're talking through, and we don't want to kind of cut that off, but we also want to get through everything that we're talking through.
I like that. So we mentioned at the beginning, you just wrapped up this cycle, not just you, but our team, for all of our clients. And I'm curious, were there any overarching trends that you guys saw across every client that we have?
Yeah, so there certainly are. So one, I'll get into a few of the metric trends, but before I get into this, one of the kind of things that is pretty common across all of our clients is because so much has changed in marketing, and because we're all kind of figuring this out over the last couple of years, there's a lot of experimentation, which is fun. So there's a lot of trying, did this thing work, and did this initiative work? And so because of that, there's a lot of variety in what is working and what isn't working. But that is just in and of itself really cool than having this like formula of we did these things and this happened and we knew it was going to happen. So there is a lot of unknown and a lot of variety, but there's a few things that are pretty consistent across all clients. And that is similar to what we've all been seeing for the last year and a half, 2 years. Web traffic is going down, particularly organic, and we're still seeing that. And AI referral traffic is going up. It's much, much, much smaller, so it's not making up that. But that result is what's left in the AI traffic growing and what's left of the existing traffic is so much higher quality that we're seeing conversion rates that are so much higher, which is pretty cool. And the traffic that's coming in, they're staying longer, they're looking at more pages, they're converting on contact us forms and request a quote forms far more than, like, say, white paper forms, which we all know those are much more qualified leads. So that's really exciting. And we're still seeing lead growth, new contact growth, even with the decreasing traffic. So that's a really inspiring trend. That's something that is really positive and really good. So that's happening. Some other trends is there's a lot more focus on other channels. A few years ago, your website was the end all be all, and then a whole lot of the discussion was around the site. And of course, we still care about that. Your website's still important. But we definitely have a lot of, let's look at social and how are we growing there and what new things are we doing? Let's look at the earned media and some of the placements that we're getting there. And so that is something that we're doing a lot more of it, but also it's getting a lot of traction. We're seeing a lot of really good and positive results through some of those, not new, I mean, they've been around forever, but things that we're focusing on a little bit more than our own channels.
This return to what worked 2 decades ago, but now it's maybe has more measurability is higher, I guess, on some of those activities, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And we're seeing it impact new ways. So for instance, like PR used to, I mean, we would measure, okay, we got these placements, we got this impressions, and that's how we were measuring PR. And now we're seeing a really strong correlation between the PR, both contributed and wired releases, with showing up in search, showing up in AI search, getting meetings at trade shows if you kind of have that strategy ahead of time. So that's really interesting and cool. And there's kind of new benefits that we can, we still have the traditional metrics, but then we have some new things that it's impacting, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I know if I think back in time, okay, so my book was published in 2020. So it was 6 years ago, 6.5 years now. And in it, there's a whole chapter with industry benchmarks of here's some metrics you should measure. Here's some benchmarks of whether or not if you're doing well. So what's changed since then? How are you measuring success now? Is benchmarking still a thing we can even do with the Wild West of AEO? How are you approaching that part?
Sure, absolutely. I think even when we had those very strong, predictable industry benchmarks, it still varied based on who you were. I mean, you could say that, open rates are 20% industry-wide, but if your open rates will depend on your database and the quality of your database and how often you're emailing and how compelling your emails are, et cetera. So it was always a little bit of variety, but we did have some benchmarks if you had nothing to work with, kind of what to strive for. And that definitely was shaken up over the last couple of years. So one, we are definitely starting to normalize a little bit, and we're starting to be able to tell what the new normal is. So, now with emails, lots of it have impacted what the emails open rates are, the click-through rates, click-to-open rates. But we're seeing some consistency come back. So we are starting to be able to tell some of those benchmarks, absolutely. And then also we have kind of a unique perspective that we get to see metrics across all kinds of companies in our niche. And so based on that, we can compare, and we have kind of our own feel on what things should be, and it's different than it was. So something that our team is working on now is we're pulling together a industry benchmark guide to help so many marketers that are marketing to manufacturers or industrial audiences or engineers or scientific audiences, that they can have some of those really predictable things that they used to have, something similar in kind of the new world order. And it's evolving and it's changing, but it is something that we're working on that I think is going to be really helpful for our teams, our clients, and other people, marketers in our industries.
Great. I love that it's hyper specific to our industry, because the behavior, as we know, is way different than a SaaS company. So even in other B2Bs, and so that'd be great, because that's over a good enough sample of different size and different types of clients that'll be a nice reference for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, what words of advice do you have for people out there who aren't approaching measurement in such a formal way? How to get started, or just pitfalls to look out for, or just any other thing we haven't covered today?
Sure. So a few things. Whenever you're doing your planning initially, think about what success looks like and get alignment on that from the beginning. So we're talking about reporting out, but this all happens after you've already set that. You can't decide afterward how you're going to measure success. You need to decide ahead of time. And even more than that, you need to get alignment on whoever your audience is. If it's leadership, if it's sales, everyone needs to agree that this is what success looks like. That will impact how you're measuring, but it'll also impact how you execute, and it'll impact what you're doing. So I guess the first thing is decide ahead of time what success looks like. And if it's a guess, it's a guess. Like, it's just put something down. Then when you get to that, look at those metrics, but look at everything around it. See what else is interesting. Those metrics are important to report back, but that might not be the most interesting thing. You might learn something from something that isn't on that chart or that sheet or that scorecard. So looking there, it would be really important. I think a third thing is, when you're coming back and you're reporting, prioritize that and have an executive sponsor also make sure that they amplify the importance of that. Having that where everyone sits down and you're looking at this, it is so critical to learning from what you did in the past, but guiding what you're going to do next. And so that way everyone agrees what worked and what didn't, and what are we doing next. A really big part of those meetings is presenting what's coming the next quarter. This is what we planned. Do we still agree with this? Do we still agree this is important? And that is really critical for kind of having clear marching orders for marketing, but it's also really critical to avoid distractions. So that way, if everyone sits down and agrees, this is what we're doing and this is what's important, and we've modified it based on what we've learned or based on, what we know are new opportunities have come up, it will help a lot when distractions come up. Other, people say, oh, can we do this? Oh, this came up. It'll help a lot of, not that you might not entertain those discussions, but it gives you a reference and framework of, okay, well, we agreed we're doing this. So if we're adding this, what are we swapping or
off? Yes. Because resources are not unlimited. They're not.
And if you try to do too much, everything will be worse.
The other thing I would add to that is, whoever that executive sponsor is, even talk to them and understand what their goals are, what their pressures are, and how these marketing goals and KPIs fit into that greater story that they're needing to report up, because there might be a golden metric or two that could be helpful for them. And I'm thinking about a conversation I had recently with somebody where they said software demo downloads was in particular very important because of the business goal that aligned to. So it was something that maybe a marketer wouldn't think of in isolation of everything else. Maybe they would, you mentioned initiatives, that could be part of an initiative per se, but just understanding what they need to see. And at the end of the day, you're going to turn around and eventually need to ask for budget as you help the company grow. And so the more you can tie what you're doing in the business and metrics to back up your success and why you need that investment. So it all kind of layers together, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. That's a great point.
Okay. Well, tell me again. So this benchmarking report sounds really cool. When can we expect to see it? And if people want to be on the list to receive that, how do they do that?
Yeah, so it will come out in Q4, hopefully early Q4. We're working on it now. It's something new. And if you want to get that, then visit our site. It will be online at the site. You can sign up for updates, and on our mailing list, we will certainly be mailing that out.
Absolutely. I think that's a great place to go. And if you want to connect with Jennifer, you can do so on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by today.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.